Here's where we're headed. Possibility. World War III. Because Israel has a right to survive. Israel has a right to live. The Jews have a right to be left alone by the rest of the world. They will defend themselves, as they should. I sat with Benjamin Netanyahu probably 5 years ago now. I could have done the interview today. I said, look, here's what's going to happen. Nobody's going to do anything about Iran. The world will do nothing. And then at this moment of hope, this is where I had it wrong, this moment of hope will be on the edge of peace, and you will be forced to strike because it will be all lies. And the world will turn around and say, it's the Jews that started all of this. And it will be by design. It's not a moment of hope. It is a moment of chaos. I should have listened to Ahmadinejad. As a 12er himself, he knows when he says, "Oh Allah, give me the strength to hasten the return of the promised one," what the question I had for my comrades, and I use that word exactly the right way, my comrades at CNN, I asked them, what do you mean? What does he mean? What does he mean by hasten the return of the promised one? Who's the promised one? Does anybody know? Nobody. Oh, he says that religious junk, it's just for the... No, it's not. He means it. The 12th Imam is one spooky dude that crawls out of a well. You believe it, don't believe it, I don't really care. They believe it. They believe it. And the way to hasten the return of the promised one is to create global chaos. Well, gee, that sounds like Occupy Wall Street, quite honestly. Create global chaos. World War III, possibility. Guaranteed anti-Semitism not seen since the 1930s. Guaranteed economic, not depression, collapse. Collapse. And civil war. You cannot put this genie back in the bottle. But there is something else. There's something that I'd like to focus on here. These things are coming, but so is this. Healing. Healing and profound light, should we choose it now. De Tocqueville was right when he said, America is great because America is good. Why are they attacking our churches? Because it's the source of our goodness. It's the source of our faith, our hope, our charity. I don't care what church you go to. I don't care what synagogue you go to. That's what's connecting us with each other and something higher than ourselves. Of course they're attacking that. I am a guy that nobody would have even hired, nor should they have, 15 years ago. I'm a recovering alcoholic that screwed up my whole life. I betrayed everybody in my life. I built a whole life of lies. Until I admitted that my life was out of control. Until I was at the point of life or death. Which do you choose, life or death? Interesting that that's what Moses said. Choose life or death. I chose life but I didn't know how. America and the rest of the world is at that same point. Choose light or dark, life or death. Choose today. It was because of good friends, a loving spouse, who all allowed me to hear the truth. You suck. And it's your fault. And then, by the grace of God and the strength of faith, that I stand before you today. That's what has to happen in America. My mother died because she got to the point when I was a young teenager. She got to the point where she had to choose life or death. She chose death. Some people will. Some people have one drink and they say, wow, you know, that made me really feel like garbage and I could probably have a problem with that, and they never drink again. I don't know where everybody's scale is. Some are going to have to perish. Unfortunately, they will choose that. You can't save everybody. We have to now look into the mirror ourselves and say, what do I choose? And will I dedicate everything in my life? There is nothing less at stake than the very republic in which we have all enjoyed and the freedom of mankind. That's what's at stake. Are you up to the challenge of saving it? The answer should be yes. If we just have 10%, 10% is the tipping point. Principles of God are everywhere. 10%. He asks you for 10%. Tithe 10%. That's what he asks. But in the end, if you really understand tithing and you really do it, you know it's 10, then it's 11, then it's 15, then by the time it's all of it, whatever. He takes it all. The same thing with evil. Just be 10%. You're 90% good. What? You can take 10 minutes here. You're 90% there. That's good enough. Look at them. They're not even 90%. And you allow yourself to be 90% good. Do it 90%, and pretty soon it's 89, 87, 85, 70, 60. That's how you get people to put people into gas chambers. Little pieces at a time. You don't show up. Nobody shows up like a stormtrooper and says, hey, what do you say we gas all these people? You'd say, you're out of your mind. You're a crazy person. It takes time. Give me 1% today. Just say something bad about them. Start to dehumanize them a little bit. You know what? Just take away their radio. Maybe they should shop at another store. That's how you do it. So let's use the positive and fix the 10%. Let's use that God-given concept and change the course of the entire planet. Culture. Culture is under attack. And all of our children, they'll watch whatever it is, they'll listen whatever it is, and how many Americans say, oh, my kids know the difference. No, they don't. This is the culture they were raised in. There is nothing, that's the standard. They don't have what we had. I remember walking around in grocery stores when I was a kid. I'd say something, I'd do something, I'd mouth off for somebody. An adult would come around that corner of that grocery store and say, knock it off. I know your father, he wouldn't like that. And you'd be like, oh, crap. Even if they didn't know our parents, they still said, knock it off. We were a team. We had shared values. We don't. The values that are being jammed down our throat are just that. They're being jammed down our throat. They're being enforced through intimidation because we don't believe in those things. The things we do believe in, we won't stand up for because we're afraid. The media is coming undone. The lies are being exposed. There's a tipping point, and it's all about here. It's about to tank. I'm setting on a journey to redesign the media. I don't know if I'm going to be the one that does it, but somebody will, because this system doesn't work, and it's got to be built on the truth and a new way of doing business. I was just in Nashville. I talked to some of the leaders of country music, and I said, look, the culture is under attack. There's got to be a coordinated effort to take some music and move us ahead. Some inspiration, anything. Financial sector is going to fix itself. Not in a good way, but it's the Kondratiev wave. Kondratiev was the first economic advisor for Stalin. Ended with a bullet in his head because he had to think about which is better, communism or capitalism. It's Stalin asking the question. I think it's communism. He said, let me think about it. I'll get back to you on it. He had some time to think about it in a gulag. He came up with a Kondratiev wave. Green shoots. That's where that comes from. Green shoots. You're in winter, and then you see a green shoot. That's somebody having an idea. Wait a minute. It doesn't have to be that way. I got a better idea. In their garage, a kid, little Billy Gates, little Stevie Jobs, they have an idea, a green shoot, and then that idea starts to roar to life, and spring is here, and exuberance, and then the arrogance of summer. It's always going to be this way. And things get ugly, and people start making stupid moves because it will always be summer. And then the leaves start to change, and a few people say, wait a minute, look at the leaves. Wait a minute, something's going on. What's happening? Something's happening here. Others say, no, it's always like, it's going to be summer all the time. Then the leaves fall off the trees. And dummies, this is what he actually said that actually got him thrown into the gulag and executed. He said, this is where communism goes wrong. They try to take the trees and uproot them and put them in greenhouses. It doesn't work. You'll kill all the trees. They need the time to rest and regenerate and green shoot. The financial sector will fix itself. But our faith-based life, we must be responsible of. Our education, we must stand guard on our education. Our university system is corrupt to the core. To the core. We need to, as people, decide, do we continue to support this that is corrupting our society and our children? I have a book on my desk from 1946. It's called Hitler's Jews. Hitler's Professors. They went in 1946 and wanted to document what happened here. What a surprise. It was in the universities. But we can't just stand guard against the universities because too much has been lost. We must, as people, guard our current history, our current truth, correct